Welcome, one and all, to PACIFIC414 Pop Talk. I'm your host, Mike. I hope you're all doing well this evening. I have a few stories I want to talk about this evening, and I also want to say, before I get too far ahead of myself, that there will not be an open mic tonight on this episode of Pop Talk, due to the fact that I want to make sure that I make it to Tuesday Night Trek over on the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel, as I am one of the panelists. So I am going to go ahead and get underway with this broadcast officially. Again, hope you're all doing well this evening. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy today's show. And if you don't, well, leave a comment down in the comment section below, or say something during the live stream and we can discuss it. So, one of the first stories I want to get to this evening is actually about the fourth season of Stranger Things, and the creators of Stranger Things actually talking about season 4 and saying that season 4 is going to have an epic scale. Now, I must admit, I must come clean, I have never watched a single episode of Stranger Things. So, if anyone can give me a recommendation as to whether I should start watching it or skip it altogether, I would appreciate that. So, this first article comes to us from Superhero Hype. It's by Blair Marnell, and it was actually posted on Sunday, April 10th. And as I mentioned before, it says Stranger Things creators talk about season 4's epic scale. And the article goes into further detail by saying almost 3 years have passed since Stranger Things season 3 premiered on Netflix, but the wait is almost over. The first part of Stranger Things' fourth season will be arriving at the end of next month, and according to series creators Matt and Ross Duffer, the new season will also have a much bigger scale than previous seasons. And it goes on to say, a quote from them: "We kind of jokingly call it our Game of Thrones season because it's so spread out. So I think that's what's unique, or most unique, about the season," said Matt Duffer during Deadline's Contenders TV panel. Joyce and the Byers family have left at the end of season 3. They are in California. And then we have Hopper in Russia. And then, of course, we have a group remaining in Hawkins. So we have these 3 storylines, all are connected and kind of interwoven together, but it's just very different tones. And I do apologize for the sound of my voice. There's a lot of pollen in the air. Of course, it's springtime, so you kind of expect it. And it goes on to say the Duffer brothers also indicated that season 4's extended length will allow them to begin explaining the show's mythology. "We didn't know how big the season was going to get, and we didn't even realize until we were halfway through, just in terms of how much story that we wanted to tell this season," noted Ross Duffer. "Great Game of Thrones is one of the things we've referenced, but also for us, really, what it's about is revelations, and that we really want to start giving the audience some answers." And hello, the panel wannabe. How are you doing this evening? me go ahead and post this article into the chat. And the Pad Wannabe says, I think you should check it out. I definitely enjoyed what I saw. I only got to the near end of season one and a few season two episodes. My wife binged it too fast for me to keep up any longer. All right. I will definitely check it out at some point. Okay. So let's see. It goes on to say, back when we did season one, Netflix just kept going, can you explain all this mythology to us? Added Ross. So we wrote this giant 20-page document which talked about everything in terms of what's going on and exactly what the upside down was. And then each season, we're just sort of peeling back the layers of that onion, so to speak. But this season, we really want to really get into and some of those answers. But to do that properly, we needed some time, so it just became bigger and bigger. Stranger Things is slated to end with the fifth season, which hasn't begun filming yet. But the Duffer Brothers also joked that the show would close around the release of Beetlejuice, which was a career milestone for one of the series' leading players, Winona Ryder. Article continues to say that's the final scene. The kids go to see Beetlejuice and their heads explode, joked Ross Duffer. That's the threshold we can't cross, which is once Winona is a superstar in the world, like the show has to stop because the kids' heads will spontaneously combust or something, added Matt Duffer. Stranger Things 4 Part 1 will premiere on May 27th on Netflix. The second part of season 4 will follow on July 1st. Are you looking forward to getting some answers this season? Let us know in the comment section below. And I want to say hello and welcome to Resolute Germ. It was a lot of fun Saturday night discussing wrestling with you, Stone Loki, Quidman Jenkins, Matt Phoenix, the Pad Wannabe. It was just a great panel. Having Baron there, having Brandon, the anime guy there. That was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys did too. And I hope everybody has taken the time to not only watch the full live stream that we did Saturday discussing all things wrestling, but also watch the video where Master Paul calls out one Mexican Iron Man, also known as Darth Poppy. Trust me, I will not be calling him his other nickname because I heard about it yesterday when he was talking about it with Captain Trek. So yeah. But anyways, as he already knows, I'm on Darth Poppy's side, Mexican Iron Man's side. He's gonna go to that convention in Nashville, Tennessee, the Echo Base meetup. He's gonna face off against Master Paul, and he's gonna whip his candy ass. And who knows, there might be a run in that, cost Paul the match anyways. But, Mexican Iron Man doesn't need that. Mexican Iron Man's that powerful. He's that skilled when it comes to the use of the lightsaber. And it's no problem at all. I'd love to have you back on the channel one of these days, brother. So, gentlemen, what do you think? You looking forward to season 4 of Stranger Things? Or is Stranger Things dead and gone to you because it's been 3 years since the last time it was on the air? Let me know in the comments, and let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And I promise you all that on Sunday mornings Pop Talk, I will have an open mic and everybody will be able to come on. It's just tonight I want to be able to make Tuesday Night Trek and give them my thoughts on these 5 episodes that we're discussing tonight. And I don't want to get in there too late to the broadcast, if you know what I mean. And real quick before I move on, and Padawannabe says that would be great. The lightsaber fight gets interrupted by a folding chair. I could see it happen. Yeah, that is kind of how I feel about it, Resolute Germ. You know, if I haven't watched it from the beginning, I don't know why I would start watching it now. I mean, as it is, I was thinking about watching Moon Knight and Obi-Wan, but with everything going on with Disney lately, I don't know if I want to. I really don't know if I want to. Now, what I might start doing, because I've been thinking about it for a while, and at first I was thinking I was going to go and rewatch all 3 seasons of Daredevil. Well, as long as I can pick up the seasons at a good price, I will. But I might go back and rewatch the reboot of Battlestar Galactica and give an episode by episode review, just because, that's one hell of a good show. That is one hell of a good show. You know, how it starts and how it ends, everything that Ronald D. Moore and the writers did for that show, that was great. And I'd love to go back and revisit it. And the Padawannabe says, I'll catch up with Stranger Things for sure. All right. So our next story comes to us from Variety, and let me go ahead and click on the link and post it into the chat for anybody who would like to read it. I know this is a few days old. This was posted on Sunday. However, I still wanted to talk about it tonight. And it's about Sonic 2. And it says box office Sonic 2 booms. Excuse me. Sonic 2 booms to 71 million. Michael Bay's ambulance stalls. Well, it's because there's probably so many explosions. Yeah. Explosions. Yeah. We're going to have a scene here. Explosions here. Explosions there. Yeah, it's going to be cool, dude. It's going to be cool. What's the story about? Doesn't matter. There's explosions everywhere. And before I begin, Resolute Germ says, watch the real Galactica, not that fake. I know you're talking about the classic from 1978. I know. Got nothing against it. I was just looking at my collection of different TV shows that I have that aren't Star Trek related and thinking maybe I should do a review of that. So, this story is by Rebecca Rubin, and it goes on to say Sonic the Hedgehog 2 powered to 71 million in its domestic box office debut, a hopeful indication that family audiences are feeling better about returning to movie theaters. In taking the number one spot, Paramount's kid friendly film towered over Sony's Marvel adaptation Morbius and Universal's Michael Bay action adventure Ambulance, which debuted in fourth place with a disappointing 8.7 million. So instead of big explosions, Michael Bay got sparklers. Ticket sales for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 set a new high watermark for video game adaptations, supplementing the opening weekend record established by its predecessor 2020's Sonic the Hedgehog. The first movie collected 58 million in its first 3 days of release and ended the President's Day holiday weekend with a mighty 70 million. Overseas, the Sonic follow-up added 37 million from 53 territories, taking its international tally to 70 million and global total to 141 million. This is an outstanding opening, said David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. With solid reviews and very good audience scores, Sonic is going to have a strong run. Jeff Fowler returned to direct Sonic the Hedgehog 2 after seeing the original film to 319 million globally before the coup took hold and setting a record for the highest grossing video game adaptation in North America. Ben Schwartz returned as the voice of the speedy blue creature with a knack for busting bad guys, and Jim Carrey reprised his role as mad scientist Dr. Robotnik, a combination that has proven to be a hit among moviegoers. Sonic 2 landed a positive A cinema score from audiences. Film critics were mixed, as evidenced by the film's 68% average rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This film did such a great job in service of the fans while not excluding general audiences, said Paramount's president of domestic distribution, Chris Aronson. That's a neat trick. Goes on to say Sonic the Hedgehog continues a box office hot streak for Paramount, marking the studio's fourth movie in 2022 to open in first place. The others were Lost City, Scream, and Jackass Forever. It's a needed rebound since Paramount largely stepped back from theatrical releases during the pandemic, instead, selling titles like Aaron Sorkin's courtroom drama, The Trial of the Chicago Seven, Eddie Murphy's comedy sequel Coming to America, and Michael B. Jordan's action thriller Without Remorse to streaming services. Universal, on the other hand, has endured a bumpy start to the new year. The female fronted heist film, The 355, which is actually on home video right now, only because I was in the store today and I saw it on the shelf. Not that I'm looking to pick it up. And religious drama Redeeming Love fizzled at the box office, while Jennifer Lopez's romantic comedy Marry Me fell short of expectations since the movie opened day to date on NBC Universal streamer Peacock. Holdover from Illumination's animated comedy Scene 2, which has grossed 162 million since December, has been a bright spot. And a stacked summer slate including Jurassic World Dominion, Minions, The Rise of Gru, and Jordan Peele's horror film Nope look to reverse those fortunes. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 cost 90 million, far more than the 40 million that Bay and Universal shelled out for Ambulance. That's a relatively cheap price tag for a film that is heavy in explosions and special effects. However, the 40 million figure does not include the many millions spent on marketing and other efforts necessary to spread the word about the movie's release. Overseas, R-rated Ambulance earned 22.4 million from 68 international markets, boosting the film's global tally to 31.1 million. Ticket buyers, at least those in North America, appear to enjoy the film, which secured an A- cinema score. Starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Yahya Abdul Mateen II, from Candyman and Matrix Resurrections, and Izia Gonzalez. The movie follows two adoptive siblings turned bank robbers who hijack an ambulance and hold the vehicle's occupants hostage. Goes on to say, with great audience scores, I think we will have a nice domestic run, said Universal's president of domestic distribution, Jim Orr. At the domestic box office, the lackluster start for Ambulance is yet another sign of consumers' changing taste. The kind of adrenalized, physics defying mojo that turned Bay's past films like Armageddon and Pearl Harbor into zeitgeisty hits doesn't always work these days. In the current movie theater environment, fewer genres seem to be resonating with ticket buyers. There used to be a lot of these movies at the theater, gross sets of crime thrillers, but today's audiences want something special every time. The bar is set higher. The bar is set higher now. At a cost of 40 billion plus marketing, the film is unlikely to recover cost, even with better numbers overseas and good and Larry, well, good value on Peacock. Analytics is pretty much what it says. In a distant second place, Morbius, a comic book adventure starring Jared Leto and taking place in Sony's universe of Marvel characters, collected 10.2 million, a catastrophic 74% drop from opening weekend. After 2 weeks in theaters, the 75 million budgeted Morbius has generated 57 million in North America and 69.3 million internationally, which, to be honest, and I said this in my short review of Morbius, it was okay. It honestly was okay. It wasn't that great. Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum's romantic action adventure, The Lost City, landed at number 3 ahead of Ambulance and The Batman. The Paramount Pictures film added 9.1 million from 3,797 locations in its third weekend of release, dipping only 38% from last. So far, The Lost City has amassed 68.8 million at the domestic box office, which is a strong result for the genre. However, the movie cost 68 million to produce, so international audiences will be key in turning The Lost City into a commercial winner. Rounding out the top 5, Robert Pattinson's Cape Crusader story, The Batman, brought in 6.5 million from 3,254 venues. The Warner Brothers movie, which does not land on HBO Max until next week, has grossed a huge 358 million domestically and 376 million overseas, with 735 million worldwide. It's currently the highest grossing movie of the year at the domestic and global box office, which I do want to say because I do have a story here talking about how the Batman will be released next week onto HBO Max, that I will actually be doing a rewatch of it and a review of it, another review of it, basically. All right, so article concludes by saying in sixth place, A24's action adventure comedy fantasy sci-fi mashup, Everything Everywhere All at Once, had a strong expansion after 2 weeks in limited release. Directed by Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinhardt and starring Michelle Yeoh, the film earned 6 million from 1,250 cinemas. The well-reviewed Everything Everywhere All at Once, in which Yeoh's character exists in a multiverse, has generated 8.4 million to date. Give this movie enormous credit for successfully challenging the genre, for doing it on a reasonable budget, and for playing on over 1,200 screens, says Franchise Entertainment's research searches costs. So, yeah, that's the box office from this past weekend, at least. It'll be interesting to see where the box office is this weekend if Sonic continues to, rack up a tear at the box office, which from word of mouth, it probably will. I just don't know if I'm going to go see it. Yes, I saw the first one not too long ago. It was good. I don't know that I would have had to have gone to the theater to go see it, the way I was able to see it by having a friend rent it and then watching it with that friend. It was fine. It was fine. For what it is fine. And let me go ahead and read your comments before I get on to this next story, which I will go ahead and I will pin. Well, not pin, but I will copy and paste the next one I'm about to read into the comment section. And the Panda Wannabe says, love the new adaptation of Battlestar. I have definitely wanted to finish my series collection off. Resolute Germ says, I would go see Sonic, but I have a policy of not giving Paramount money. Understood. Perfectly understandable with everything that's going on. I'm glad to see this doing well for Jim Carrey. I think it's great that he outshines the hero doing what Jim does best, being wacky. I'll Redbox it. Sorry, theaters. That's what I do. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, with the way things are today, it's not too long until the home DVD or Blu-ray release or even the digital release anymore. It's like, why even put them in theaters? I mean, I know the answer to that last question. Trust me, I know the answer to that last question, but anymore with how quickly things turn around, why bother? And the Padawannabe says, I saw the trailer for 355 and just thought, wow, they're really going to try an all girl movie like this, huh? Yeah, they tried it and it failed. Resolute Germ says, people have finally learned Bay is shit at his job. Very true. Very true. Wow, the Batman really fell off a cliff. Yes, it did. You know, once everybody saw it within those first few weeks, it's like been there and done that. Moving on. I saw it, you know. Again, I'm going to give it another review when it comes to HBO Max on Monday. Now, I don't think that review is going to be out on Monday. I'm going to do my best to get it out as soon as possible, but you'll have my first review and you'll have my second review to see if my thoughts change. Because at least this time, I'm in the comfort of my own home and I can start it and stop it at my own convenience. And the Padawannabe says Pattinson played a vampire and it only took him 15 years to become a bat. But bump. I watched that movie just because of Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, a lot of people like Michelle Yeoh. And she is a good actress when she's in the right genre. As someone who's seen her in Star Trek Discovery, I really don't think she fits on that show. And a lot of it has to do with the writing of that show. It's nothing against Michelle Yeoh. It's everything to do with the writing on that show. So, speaking of the Batman, I have this article from Variety, which I've already posted, and at least yeah, I did. Okay, so this article from Anna Tingley says how to watch the Batman online. Yeah, HBO Max Monday. I'm just reading this to find out what time so I can start my rewatch. Okay. So it goes on to say Warner Brothers isn't waiting long to make the Batman available for people to watch from home. The latest film in the DC franchise will become available for streaming on HBO Max as early as April 18th, which is also tax day. So after you file your taxes, you can decide whether or not you want to sit through a 3-hour movie after doing hours and hours of taxes if you do them yourself. Okay, it said the star-studded film featuring Robert Pattinson as the titular superhero alongside Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman and Paul Dano as Riddler soared at the box office when it premiered on March 4th, collecting $134 million at North American theaters, a bigger opening weekend than Warner Brothers initially expected, and the most successful opening of 2022 so far. The Matt Reeves directed film chronicles Batman's early years as Bruce Wayne while he begins to uncover the corruption in Gotham City and takes on the maniacal Riddler in the pursuit of justice. The cast also includes Andy Serkis as Batman's butler Alfred Pennyworth, Colin Farrell as the supervillain known as Penguin, and Jeffrey Wright as Gotham City's police chief James Gordon. The film will naturally cast a significantly larger net once it hits HBO Max, especially considering the amount of people that might have foregone seeing the film in theaters because of its taxing 3 hour runtime. Warner Brothers' speedy theater to streamer pipeline is part of their recently announced plan to keep films in movies for 45 days before putting new titles on HBO Max. However, the Batman is getting special treatment by hitting the streamer one day earlier than expected. Ooh, one day, woo! It goes on to say HBO Max offers an extensive lineup of other DC Universe content, such as the animated Harley Quinn series, a, a Peacemaker spin-off of James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and Jack Bannon starring Pennyworth series. It says, in order to stream the new titles, you'll have to subscribe to HBO Max for $9.99 a month. Sign up below. Well, you can do that at your own leisure. And I do want to say hello to Captain Trek. I don't know if Paul messaged you about Tuesday Night Trek, but because he was having his 1 year celebration last night in the time slot of Tuesday Night Trek is actually taking place tonight. Again, I don't know if Master Paul of the Star Wars guys contacted you, but I want to let you know since you're here. So, again, I can't speak for those of you who are in the chat, but I am going to take the time to sit down. It probably won't be in one sitting, it will probably be in multiple sittings just because, sitting through a 3 hour movie. And I will give another reaction and review to the movie. Which, who knows? Maybe my opinion will change. You never know. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and close out these two windows when I move on to this next story. Because this next story, since I'm going to be having a collector stream on May 14th, which is actually a follow up to one I had just last month, at the beginning of last month, I thought I would talk about this. This comes from Superhero Hype. And let me go ahead and post a link into the chat in case anybody would like to read it. Okay, so let me just double check before I move on, especially with the way Stream Notes has been. I'll probably never watch that sparkly vampire Batman movie. Bat Sparkles. That's what I was calling it before I saw it. And I'm still going to call it Bat Sparkles. I don't care what anyone says. I'm still going to call it Bat Sparkles. All right. So this article from Superhero Hype talks about X06 reveals enough 1/6 scale Star Trek figures to bankrupt the Ferengi. And we all know a Ferengi without profit is no Ferengi at all. This was posted on Sunday, April 10th, probably in, combination with the Star Trek convention that was going on in Chicago last weekend. And it says, as an entirely independent toy company focused exclusively on high-end Star Trek figures, X06 usually releases one new one every couple of months. But considering just how many figures they showcased at the official Mission Chicago convention, they need to pick up the pace. It could take years and a small fortune to grab every one of these great new reveals. They seem to have showcased new 1/6 Star Trek figures from every live action iteration save the currently on hold Kelvin universe. Well, Kelvin universe, what's that? I'll tell you what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't count. From the classic series to its movies, we have Kirk and Spock in the motion picture uniforms, Wrath of Khan uniforms, and TV show formal dress. McCoy, Miro Sulu, Commander Krug, Telosian, and classic Captain Pike, old and young, joined them. And I am going to click on these just to see them. Let's go ahead and show this real quick as I click on these pictures. Honestly, I'm liking them. I can't speak for you all, but I'm liking them. I mean, especially Spock, Kirk, and McCoy. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Be interested to see the final product. Yeah, very well done. But again, I want to see the official final product and see what happens then. Okay, so let's go back and share the previous screen. Okay, it goes on to say, from the Next Generation era, Locutus arrives with a Borg alcove. The Forge comes in two variants, on-set colors and on-camera colors. Riker is still a number one guy. Resistance is futile. Number one. That's what their tweet says. Oh, look at this. I'm going to show it here just a second. Look at this quark. This is nice. It's real nice to look at. And I'm looking at Quark because when Playmates had their original run, Quark was one of the first Deep Space Nine figures I picked up at a Target in Escondido, California. So I'm liking this Quark. Looks like we got Captain Archer. Looks like that might be Tuvok, and then 7 of 9. And of course, Picard in his captain's jacket. First seen in the episode Darmok. Suka, his eyes uncovered. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. Yes, and even that Geordi looks good. Can't really see much of the Q, but the Geordi looks good from that side profile. So let's go ahead and go back. Goes on to say, from the modern Paramount Plus era, Captain Berman and Saru were expected, but Emperor Georgiou is a surprise. Strange New Worlds, Captain Pike, maybe not as much. And it says, follow XO6 on Twitter for even more images, as the only official press pics so far just feature figures from the first 3 movies. You can see them in our gallery below. And honestly, I don't own any 1/6 Star Trek figures or any figures of that matter, but these are nice. I would love to see what the final product looks like. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next article. I'm just going to close some tabs before I do. Let's see. No, don't need that one. Let's go ahead and switch to some anime news. And this news in particular is related to the Toei hack. So I don't know if all of you are aware that A while back, Toei Animation had their systems hacked, and it's delayed a lot of their projects, and some of them were actually getting ready to be released, and unfortunately are not being released at this time. All right, so this article says Toei Animation reveals recent hack was result of targeted ransomware attack, and it was posted on April 8th on their website. It says the recent hack of Toei Animation, which resulted in a delay to the production schedules of various anime series that continues to affect them to this day, has been found to have been the consequence of a targeted ransomware attack. Goes on to say, on March 11th, Easter came early when Toei Animation announced that 5 days earlier, an unauthorized third party accessed the company's network and proceeded to cause a partial shutdown of the company's computing systems. Specifically, the hack halted internal systems that were used in the production process of their various anime series. Goes on to say, as such, the hack kept on giving by subsequently affecting the broadcast schedules for One Piece, Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, Delicious Party, Procure, and Digimon Ghost Game. Starting with the respective episodes of each series slated to air on the weekend of March 12th to 13th. Goes on to say, on March 8th, the NHK reported via machine translation provided by DeepL that after a preliminary investigation, Toei Animation believed that the cyber attack was caused by a ransomware, ransom type computer virus. Information in regards to the demands of the ransom, the type of virus the hacker used, and the origin of the virus was not revealed. Goes on to say, as defined by the FBI, a ransomware attack is a type of malicious software or malware that prevents you from accessing your computer files, systems, or networks and demands you pay a ransom for their return. Ransomware attacks can cause costly disruptions to operations and the loss of critical information and data. Goes on to say, Toei also confirmed that they had shut down parts of its internal systems to investigate the extent of the virus reach. Goes on to say the Japan Computer Emergency Response Team Coordination Center recently revealed that since the start of the coup, ransomware cyber attacks have become more and more common against Japanese companies, with reported attacks jumping from 20,000 in 2019 to 35,000 in just the first 9 months of 2021. According to the agency, this dramatic increase in cyber attacks is the result of criminal groups taking advantage of people working from home. Before I continue, gotta go ahead and share the article. And let's continue. It says in February 2022, Toyota and its supply chain companies were targeted by a similar hack, which caused its production processes to halt, with March seeing attacks on three more high profile companies. According to the NHK, a survey conducted of 1,547 Japanese companies of all sizes by the private research company and Teikoku. I don't know. I'm probably mispronouncing that. And I do apologize for any mispronunciations I make as I read these articles. Databank between March 11th and 14th found that 28.4% of the companies had received a cyber attack within a month. And the article continues by saying earlier this week, the social media accounts belonging to a number of the series affected by the hack announced that they would soon return to releasing new episodes. These series include Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai, which kicks off the return of Toei Animation's regular release schedule on April 16th, and One Piece, Digimon Ghost Game, and Delicious Party Pretty Cure, the three of which will follow on April 17th. So, this coming Saturday and Sunday for anyone who's interested. And it goes on to say Dragon Ball Super Superhero, on the other hand, is a different story. Originally, the next movie in the Dragon Ball franchise was scheduled to come out on April 22nd, but in light of the studio's admission that the hack continues to affect the film's production, Toei has now pushed its release back to an unknown date. Conversely, the Dragon Ball Super superhero novel, despite being similarly pushed back from its intended April 25th release, has already been given a new street date of June 30th, 2022. And then it goes on to say, given the novel's original release date being so close to the film's, some fans have speculated that the film may now hit theaters sometime between late June and early July. And I'm going to ask you the same question they're asking here on Bounty in the Comics. How do you think Toei has handled this hacking debacle? Do you think the delay of various animes was a failure on Toei's IT department? Well, what do you all think? Let me know here in the live broadcast in the chat, or you can leave a comment down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Personally, I really don't have an opinion on it. You know, ransomware attacks do occur, and they have become more commonplace, whether people want to admit it or not. They certainly have become more commonplace, especially now. You just have to be vigilant when you're on your home computer to make sure that you don't click on something that seems suspicious. Now take a look at it one, two, three, four, 5 times, or however many times you choose, because you have to be careful with your information. You definitely have to be careful with your information. It's too easy for your information to be hacked anymore. All right. So this next article from Bounty in the Comics, written by John F. Trent, it was posted on Monday, and it says Man of Steel actor Harry Lennox demands Will Smith return his Oscar, claims Smith's 10-year ban lays bare the shallowness of Hollywood morals. And it goes on to say Man of Steel actor Harry Lennox, who played General Swanwick in the film and went on to portray Martian Manhunter in Zack Snyder's Justice League, recently penned an op-ed where he demanded Will Smith return his Oscar for Best Actor and claimed the Academy's decision to ban Smith for 10 years lays bare the shallowness of Hollywood morals. And it goes on to say, after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars ceremony, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences President David Rubin and CEO Don Hudson sent a letter to Academy members announcing the board has decided for a period of 10 years from April 8th, 2022, Mr. Smith shall not be permitted to attend any Academy events or programs in person or virtually, including but not limited to the Academy Awards. They concluded the letter writing, the action we are taking today is response to Will Smith's behavior is a step toward a larger goal of protecting the safety of our performers and guests and restoring trust in the Academy. We also hope this can begin a time of healing and restoration for all involved and impacted. Goes on to say, and I'll wait for this ad to disappear because it's about into the comics, and that's what happens when you try to read some of their ads. So once this is done, I will continue on. Again, I hope you're all doing well this evening. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for leaving a like if you like it. Thumb it down if you don't like it. And while you're here, if you're not subscribed already, check out other content on the channel and maybe you'll see something you'll like and you might want to subscribe. I don't know. Let's see. Let me just check. All right. So now that the ad is over with, or at least for now, trying to get it over with. Come on. As soon as it's over, I will continue reading the article. Too bad there's no way to get rid of it. Yes, have a good one indeed. And I'm going to continue on with the article. It says Linux pen an up-end for Variety titled Will Smith must return his Oscar to restore the award's honor, responding to the Academy's decision to ban Smith for 10 years, but still allow him to be nominated and win awards. Within the op-ed, Lennox didn't beat around the bush. In the first paragraph, he declared the Motion Picture Academy's decision to ban Will Smith from Oscar ceremonies and events for 10 years as discipline was slapping Chris for slapping Chris Rock is a little more than an extended timeout for a playground bully. It's a toothless penalty that lays bare the shallowness of Hollywood morals. It says later in the op-ed, he also criticized the Oscars' performance as a whole, describing it as profane. He wrote, given the coarseness of pop culture in the age of social media, it was no surprise that much of this year's Oscar proceedings was frequently profane. While Lennox would criticize the Academy for their punishment, he spent the majority of his op-ed targeting Smith, noting that the actor needs to express mail his golden trophy back to the Academy and publicly state something to the effect, out of respect for the 94 years of honor conferred upon this award, I do not in good conscience feel worthy of being its custodian. Lennox would specifically take issue with Smith's acceptance for Best Actor, which he won after he slapped Chris Rock. And it goes on to say, during the acceptance speech, Smith said Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family. In this time in my life, in this moment, I am overwhelmed by what God is calling on me to do and be in this world. He would later reference the supernatural, saying, I am being called on in my life to love people and protect people and to be a river to my people. At one point, he even touched on the advice he received from Denzel Washington after he slapped Chris Rock, saying, Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, at your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you. Referencing the remark about God, Lennox wrote, and couching his acceptance speech as somehow submitting to the will of God, Smith abdicated personal accountability. He would later add, it is an insult to the honor of God to assign him any part of the tawdry episode to argue that some theater force, monistic force was at play is to deny the sad fact that the affair was purely human. And hello, Nerdpoil. Paul should already know that I'm going to be a few minutes late as I am going to be wrapping up Pop Talk. But in case, please remind him. And congratulations, brother, on not only reaching your 1 year anniversary, but also reaching monetization. Congratulations. You deserve it, brother. All right, so it goes on to say, to be sure, a grave moral failure occurred, but the psychology and physiology that umpines this opening spectacle can very aptly be explained as an act of free will, Lennox asserted. I was going to say, aside from Smith's discussion of God and the supernatural in his acceptance speech, Lennox also specifically took issue with Smith slapping Chris Rock, describing it as existential crisis of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Went on to say, he added, the incident was such a jolt to societal norms that it will gnaw away at our national conscience until somehow properly atoned for. Finally, he concluded the upend, stating, the only hope for a justifiable grace must involve Smith voluntarily returning his award for Best Actor. And to be honest, I agree with him there. I wholeheartedly agree with him there. That's exactly what Smith needs to do. But to be perfectly honest, it's not going to happen. He's not going to return the award. He's going to keep it. He's not going to give it back, even though he should. He should wholeheartedly give it back. All right. So, what do you all think? Do you agree with Lennox, or do you think Will Smith should keep his award? Honestly, you've already heard of my opinion. I think Will Smith needs to return the award. He needs to return it and take his lumps. Speaking of Chris Rock, I do have an article here talking about Chris Rock, which is also from Bounded in the Comics. It was posted on Monday and it's by Josh Berger. It says Chris Rock says he's not talking about Will Smith slapping him at the Academy Awards until I get paid. Goes on to say, Chris Rock recently made a rather interesting remark regarding his altercation with Will Smith at the Oscars, asserting that he won't even talk about the incident itself until I get paid. It says, I'm okay. I have a whole show, and I'm not talking about that until I get paid, said Rock at a recent comedy show at the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio, California. The Desert Sun reported, alluding to the aftermath following the altercation with Smith at the star studded event. Rock then joked, life is good. I got my hearing back. Goes on to say the outlet also reports that the former Saturday Night Live comedian poked fun at both celebrities and politicians during a stand-up show, including Hillary Clinton for her unsuccessful presidential runs in 2008 and 2016. Rock also joked about the Kardashian family and how they love black people so much they take anyone in, as well as Meghan Markle's accusations of racism in the monarchy of the United Kingdom. Go ahead and post this article into the chat for anyone who's curious. Also, all Links to the articles that I have read tonight are in the description below, as are my social media links. Article goes on to say, though the comedian did not make it clear what he meant by his refusal to comment on the situation until I get paid, it may suggest that Rock is considering suing the King Richard actor. If he does, it would be a reversal from initial reports which indicated Rock was not interested in pressing charges against Smith for physically assaulting him at the Oscars. And it goes on to say LAPD investigative entities are aware of an incident between two individuals during the Academy Awards program, read a statement issued by the Los Angeles Police Department and shared to social media by the Guardian senior editor Lois Beckett. The incident involved one individual slapping another. The individual involved has declined to file a police report. If the involved party desires a police report at a later date, LAPD will be available to complete an investigative report. The statement reportedly concluded. Goes on to say the information initially provided by Beckett was later confirmed by Oscar's producer Will Packer, who separately told Variety they were saying, this is battery, was a word they used, and the moment LAPD said, we will go get him. We are prepared. We're prepared to get him right now. You can press charges. We can arrest him. And it goes on to say they were laying out the options, Packer added. And as they were talking, Chris was he was being very dismissive of those options. He was like, no, 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 I'm fine. And even to the point where I said, Rock, let them finish. The LAPD officers finished laying out what his options were, and they said, would you like us to take any action? And he said no. He said no. Chris Rock previously addressed the controversial Oscar slap at the Oscars during a comedy show that was held at the Wilbur Theater in Boston, not a week after his infamous altercation with Will Smith. Whoa, okay, said Rock, as the audience greeted him to a standing ovation that, according to sources, went on for almost 2 minutes before eventually adding, yo, let me do the show. Making light of the situation at the Academy Awards, the comedian asked the crowd, how was your weekend? Adding that he didn't have a bunch of crap about what happened. So if you came to hear that, I have a whole show I wrote before this weekend. I'm still kind of processing what happened, the comedian admitted before promising his fans that at some point I'll talk about that crap and it will be serious and funny. So, this begs to ask the question, will Chris Rock eventually file charges, or will he just dust it all under the rug, all under the bridge, and move on with his life? That's all up to him. It's completely up to him. But honestly, if this incident was real, and my first initial thoughts were that it was staged, but if this was real, he should press charges. He really should. Will Smith shouldn't have gone up there and slapped it. That's my opinion. What's yours? And here is the last article for this evening's Pop Talk. And it's about Sam Elliott, and it comes from Deadline. It's by Lynette Rice, and it says Sam Elliott apologizes for Power of the Dog comments. I said some things that hurt people, and I feel terrible about that. Well, he's not the first person to say something that hurt somebody. He won't be the last. But it is what it is. He said what he said. He felt what he felt, and he should stick with it. That's how he felt. You can't have any do-overs. You can't do any takebacks. He said what he said. You know how he feels. Move on. Both sides, move on. Okay, it goes on to say Sam Elliott on Sunday apologized for the comments he made last month about the film The Power of the Dog on Mark Maron's WTF podcast and had a special message for Jane Campion, who won the Oscar for directing the Western drama starring Benedict Cumberbatch. I told the WTF podcaster that I thought Jane Campion was a brilliant director, and I want to apologize to the cast of The Power of the Dog. Brilliant actors, all, Elliot said, and in particular, Benedict Cumberbatch. I can only say that I'm sorry, and I am. Well, you said what you said, and more than likely, he meant it, and everybody knows. Everybody knows, Like I said, no takebacks for what you say on either side. Hollywood is full of hypocrites, and you know they always say one thing, and then due to pressure, they change their stance, and they don't mean it. They don't mean it at all. While speaking during Deadline's Contenders TV event Sunday to promote 1883 on Paramount Plus, Elliott began his mea culpa with a semi-serious warning. First, don't do a podcast with the call letters WTF. He then said the movie struck a chord with me and wanted to talk to Maron about it. How I felt about the film. Okay. Sam, you said what you said. Own it. You said what you said. If that's how you truly feel about the film, that's how you truly feel about the film. If you don't think it's good, if you don't agree with what was being told in the story, well, you pretty much said it in that podcast. Goes on to say, I wasn't very articulate about it. I didn't articulate it very well, Elliot said. And what were his first public comments since the March 1st podcast? I said some things that hurt people, and I felt terrible about that. The gay community has been incredible to me my entire career, and I mean my entire career from before I got started in this town. Friends on every level and every job description up until today. I'm sorry I hurt any of those friends and someone that I loved and anyone else by the words that I goes on to say Elliot's co-star Faith Hill followed up by referring to Elliot's amazing character on set and how he would go out of his way to apologize to anyone who he thought he'd offended. Whatever it was, if he stepped on a toe or knocked off a hat. She then exclaimed, "We love Sam." And then it goes on to say, while speaking with Maron on the podcast, Elliot described The Power of the Dog as a piece of crap Western with illusions of homosexuality. The veteran actor who has done a slew of Westerns in his career also compared the cowboy characters to Chippendale dancers who wear bow ties and not much else, and who are running around in chaps and no shirts. As for New Zealand born Campion making an American tale, he added, "What the F does this woman from down there know about the American West?" And it goes on to say, Campion later responded to Elliot's comments. I think it's really unfortunate and sad for him because he's really hit the trifecta of misogyny and xenophobia and homophobia. She told Deadline last month, I don't like that. I think he was being a little bit of a bitch. Plus, he's not a cowboy, he's an actor. In 1883, Elliot plays Shea Brennan, a hardened Civil War vet who leads the Dutton family and a band of European immigrants across the frontier. Paramount Plus will submit Elliott for Emmy consideration and Outstanding Actor category, while 1883 will vie for the limited series prize since the drama will not return for a second season. Well, again, he said what he said. He meant what he said. Stick to it. Of course, there are going to be people who don't agree. And of course, there are going to be people who are going to be upset. But, he said what he said. Own it. You said this. There's no denying you said this. It's on social media. It's everywhere on social media. It's in print. So you can't deny it. You said it. You said it. Now own it. Say what you say and say what you mean. And he said what he meant. I don't doubt it. I don't buy his apology because, in my opinion, he meant what he said. He really did. And on that note, I am going to go ahead and wrap up this edition of PACIFIC414 Pop Talk. Please head over to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel, as they're currently in progress with this week's edition of Tuesday Night Trek on a Wednesday. So I will provide the link for anyone who's working, and I will see you over there shortly. I do want to take the time to say thank you to everyone who stopped by this evening. I want to thank the Nerd Portal Life Form. I will see you over there on Tuesday Night Trek just shortly. And then we had the Padawannabe. We had Resolute Germ. And we had Captain Trek. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Some of you I will see shortly on the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel. And until then, this has been Mike for PACIFIC414 Pop Talk. The next live stream here on the channel will actually be tomorrow. And it'll be after the Cubs and Rockies conclude game 1 of a 4-game series in Denver, Colorado. So I hope any of you who are interested in watching the box score tomorrow will tune in. And then the next live broadcast of PACIFIC414 Pop Talk will be Sunday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern. And I'm sure I'll find plenty of stories to talk about Sunday morning. And as I said, I want to welcome everybody back, everybody here that was here today, anybody who stops by after this stream is over, and anyone who stopped by before to come on the panel, as it will once again be an open mic. So thank you all for watching. Hope you liked what you saw. Hope you liked what you heard. Hope you all have a good rest of your Wednesday. And I will see you all later.